right, is this working? Is it working?
You gotta watch live now, notification.
You gotta watch live now, alright. The internet can totally see us right now.
Alright,
We've been streaming for 10 seconds. We're visible.
They found me.
Everyone's loving it. How do I tell people where this thing is? How do I tell people how to find this?
It's on the internet. Is that enough?
Go find the internet. Download the internet.
Download the internet.
Is there any audio or is it just video right now?
It should be audio. Try listening to it on your phone, Curt.
I could just
right now, Ben.
I could just start making really angry gestures at Ben as though we're in a fight.
Yeah.
But you can't hear what's happening.
All right.
I could just start making really.
Oh, there's audio.
Oh, there's audio.
Yeah, and they're gonna hear it.
Okay, good. This is a very professional broadcast.
All right, I'm gonna move to my real seat.
Don't knock the cord.
Oh, you can't move this camera.
Do not move the camera. It is perfectly positioned. It shook a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, that's just because I'm heavy.
It jiggled.
Yeah. It's cool though that you read House of Leaves for the first time recently. That
I've had it
like
for
a huge experience for me.
I've had it for. When did I get it? One of the guys that helps me with like a lot of book stuff like looks at.
There's a frightening lag. It's like I can hear the future while I'm out there. Like.
Yeah, you get a little sneak peek of what's going to
You
come down the
can
stream.
hear the future, so you hear what we're saying before we've actually said it.
Well, not like I can hear what you're saying in here before it's like on the video I'm watching.
The other way around.
If the other way around would be that's kind of a House of Leaves style spook. So
Jesus, Curt.
Don't touch that.
It's pointed individually at all of our butts now.
And then I sit down and I see me walking towards my chair, which is also
Ghost Curt.
You won't have to look at that.
Just wait until the version of you in there turns and looks at you and gives you the finger.
You need to get out now.
Yeah. You don't understand.
You don't understand. It's very.
None of this is real.
I was super excited with all the weird text stuff that book does.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember
formatting
doing research about the different editions, or it's like, well, some of them don't have anything. Like I believe there was at least one edition that it was just the text.
Yeah.
But then there's like the one that I think I got was because that was also a book that was pretty hard to find for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the early 2000s, you wouldn't.
Yeah. Which was part of the allure
wasn't around.
exactly.
It was part of the mystery.
The one that Wes got me was
ooh, here we go.
The full colorized version, the unabridged colorized version, where House appears in blue every time it's mentioned in the story, and yeah. I mean that's it's an art piece as much as it is
it's a very beautiful book,
and like the amount of thought that went into the structuring of and playing with language is poetic in a ton of places. As much as it's like deeply disturbing poetry, it's also just really like I found myself the whole time going, fucking Christ, this guy's smart.
He's really good.
This is so man.
How
did you think to do that?
It took him 10 years to write that book, I'm pretty sure.
I believe that. I can't. I mean, more
can't
than
imagine it would take any less. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It felt so carefully crafted and so thoughtful.
You know what though? Now that you've read House of Leaves, you got to read Gravity's Rainbow, Trevor.
Yeah, I know. You want me on that Pynchon train?
I have reread Gravity's Rainbow since we last talked.
I mean, what did I read? I read a ton of books. I slowed down a little bit because I started writing, and so I haven't read as much as I should. I read Foundation.
Oh, I have those 3 books. I have not read them yet.
Fantastic.
That's on my, as Echo often talks about, that's on my shelf of books that I would like to read someday that I haven't yet.
I bought them at Quiet City in Lewiston. Have you guys been to Quiet City?
No.
I know.
Is that? Oh, that's the one by the burrito place, right?
Yeah, it's right near the courthouse.
Yeah. Megan was able to go in there.
So Courtney, who owns it, has become a friend. I've done some readings there with other authors and local people, and she had like a ton of sci-fi books, like Eyeline and stuff, just for like 50 cents, paperbacks. Like,
nice.
And I grabbed it, and it only had the first Foundation, and I read the whole thing in like an hour.
Wow.
It's a concept that should not work that works incredibly well because it jumps forward generations.
Oh yeah.
Like I wouldn't even say chapter, but every chunk of the story is like one generation, and then you jump ahead. And a dramatic amount of things have changed, and now you're in the next.
Asimov was always great at establishing the feel of a story very quickly. That's
probably his greatest skill, I'd say.
Yeah.
If you wanted to boil it down to.
There it is.
Is it broken again?
No, but it made the noise. So now
there's the sound. It means it's
It's not going to do it when you're recording.
The purple smoke that makes the computer run is going to start coming out.
Purple smoke.
Nice. You've never been using a computer and just purple smoke starts coming out?
That has not happened to me yet. No.
I lost a monitor that way one time. Yeah, I was just using it, and it was one of the old CRT monitors. It made a weird clicking sound, and then suddenly smoke just started billowing out of it.
I had...
My hand gestures are going to make a lot more sense on the stream.
I had the same thing happen in college. I had this laptop that was like a piece of shit, and I was like, please just get through the semester. Like, I just need to finish my finals. And it would just like crackle. And I was like, that's not a good sound. So I couldn't... I would just like go to class and like, please don't explode here. And I got out of my very last final of my junior year, and I like walked back to the office because I was an RA, and I sat down and I opened my computer, and it was like, and then smoke came out of the speaker.
Yeah,
and I was like, I can't even be mad. You like, I just said, please just make it to the end of the semester.
Just quietly.
And it literally lasted 5 minutes after my very last class.
Finally, I can die.
I really appreciated it.
Bury me in the place I was most loved. Take me back to Radio Shack.
Where would you say that computer was most loved?
Well, it's not buried in my dorm room where I used it. It's where all my computers are. I smash them in small pieces and put them in a tote filled with boiling water. That's...
Really? That's the only way you can keep your secrets safe from the FBI.
That's the only way to keep your secrets safe.
That's the only way to truly wipe a hard drive.
Yeah.
I don't know, you took me there with that story. I was really into it.
I really did too. I was like, okay, you smash it into tiny pieces. I'm on board. I understand exactly why I did that. Why the boiling water?
In a tote!
Can a tote hold that much boiling water?
I should have said bleach. That would have been...
Yeah.
That might have been better.
Yes.
Next time I tell that story, I'll say
you bleach your hard drive.
I found boiling water to be more believable, though. That's an every man's story.
It was a very evocative story.
Not anybody's going to drop money on bleach just to wreck a hard drive.
It was like that bit from Breaking Bad when Jesse tries to destroy the body in the bathtub.
Yeah. Well. Check.
Check. Mike, check 1 2.
I think we're good.
You want to check, Trevor?
Check.
Good job.
All right, you did it.
It's not part of my routine.
See what it sounds like.
Well.
Check.
That's a podcast. Check. Mike, check 1 2. See you later, everybody. Good. You want to check, Trevor?
Check.
Good job.
All right, you did it.
All right.
Wrap it up. So we're not going to do the intro. We'll have to add that later. I don't even have my...
You're going to put the music on.
Yeah, you don't even have to.
Right.
So what are we doing next week?
I don't know.
We gotta figure this out. We gotta figure this out on the stream.
All right. We're recording now.
All right. We're doing Narnia Part 2. You want to do Grand Buffet?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, let's do that next week.
All right. And then, so we got Grand Buffet. After that...
It's a good thing we don't get paid to do this.
sorry, Megan. Megan, I'm sorry.
What'd you do?
I think I left the backpack in the car.
The backpack's the most important part, Ben.
The backpack's very important.
The baby is second.
I was going to say,
Trevor, we're going to do
the most important part.
We're going to do a full half hour of just baby advice. Yeah. All right, because there are things that you're not expecting.
I made the mistake of sending a newsletter email to everybody, not BCCing it, and then I just sent a response that, sorry, that was supposed to be BCC. Please delete the previous email. Here's the newsletter, BCC to everybody. And a bunch of people wrote me back like, dude, it's not a big deal. But one person wrote me back and was like, heard you're having a kid soon. How's that going? And I said, oh, it's fine. How are you? And she's like, let me tell you 17 different things you should know before you have a child. And it was an email like,
yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, well, that's not ready. We could do that on the podcast, though, if you want.
We totally could. We're podcasting right now. This is the podcast.
Kurt has
this is how it begins.
I know that's
we
a fact.
are streaming. Yeah, yep. I mean, I have a lot of baby. I'm a wealth of baby knowledge.
Before we get to that,
we're
going to do the Grand Buffet next week.
Grand Buffet.
And then we can do... You want to do a Swans album after that?
Which one?
Okay. So this is kind of podcast stuff, but I listened... Last week I listened to those albums again. Mm-hmm. I just did them in order, and they work really well in order.
Okay.
It's like almost like a series of films.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So you want to just do... We can do We can do 1 album per cast or 2 albums per cast. I would kind of recommend doing 2 if you have enough time to listen to about 3 to 4 hours of Swan's material and kind of digest it over the course of the week. If you don't have time to do that, then we can, bring it down to 1 album a week.
I'm not opposed to listening to 2.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it better to do 2?
Just because it'll give us more to talk about.
Okay.
I think it will have...
Avoid dead space if you get 40 minutes in and then suddenly you don't have...
Avoid dead space if you're listening to Swans and you're sick of 40 minutes of dead space.
Avoid dead space. It's a poor man's Resident Evil 4.
Right, yeah. Hadn't thought through the word choice there. Just poor look for an author. So, quite.
Yeah, so Grand Buffet, and then the
Grand
first
Buffet,
of
and
those
then
Swans
My
albums.
Father Will Guide Me Up a Rope into Heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, after that, you want to do Party Like It's 1999?
I think we should. I think we're ready.
I think we're ready. Yeah, me too.
We'll have to finalize the 4. We're doing 4 films, right?
So right now we've got The Matrix, Fight Club, Bicentennial Man, and AI.
No, I need
AI came out 2001.
How did Bicentennial Man get in there?
I didn't even know Bicentennial Man was in there.
It says Bicentennial Man right here. It actually says Bicentennial AI, but I think that was a mistake.
I think Bicentennial Man AI was supposed to be its own episode.
Oh,
I don't think that's like a subsect.
Listen, Bicentennial Man was 1999. AI is a little bit of an outlier.
Oh, you know what it was?
What?
I think Bicentennial Man was supposed to be the last episode of 1999, and then AI.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It's like a natural segue.
AI brings you into the 2000s?
Yeah. I really want to do Office Space if we're going to do 99.
All right.
And I don't know if there's anything. I really like The Sixth Sense. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Is there anything to say about it anymore?
Yes, absolutely. There's a ton to say about that movie.
I'm into The Sixth Sense.
Well,
I'm loving
then you
it.
come do it, Trevor.
I will. I want to come do it.
I'll go play New Vegas.
I'm gonna come do that
Don't
episode.
tell me you're still playing New
Make
Vegas.
sure you bring your Mac next time.
All this music stuff you guys are doing, I'm no use there. But I'll talk about movies till the cows come home. And I'll definitely talk about Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense is
great.
I
got a little Shyamalan material to talk about on the podcast this week, too.
Well, that's the other thing. If you talk about Sixth Sense, you get to talk about Shyamalan. And that's actually more interesting, I think.
We did Signs recently, which was great.
Which I liked that podcast a lot. I also love that movie.
Yeah.
I'm a
this guy gets
right on. This is why you belong here, all right?
Cool guy cast right here.
I'm pretty okay with most of Shyamalan stuff. Until you get to
I'm excited to go watch fucking Lady in the Water sometime. I bet it's an underappreciated masterpiece.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that. I haven't seen that in a while.
Never seen it.
Anyway,
I'm of the opinion Unbreakable is the best one.
That's the one that I watched this week. That's what I'm going to mention on the podcast.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, it really is.
I haven't seen Split yet.
It's good.
And I heard everybody said it was good.
It's very good.
So I'm excited.
Do you know the thing about Split?
Yeah, I couldn't avoid the thing. I was a little... I wasn't that annoyed. I was kind of like, oh, that's a...
I don't know the thing, so don't tell me the
All right,
thing.
we're done talking about it.
You've seen Split.
I have?
Yeah. Have you seen Split?
That wasn't
all the personalities and... No, you didn't see it?
No.
And you don't know the thing?
Oh,
boy.
Yeah, you're having fun.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
you're going to like this one.
Homework for you.
Yeah. All right. Then anyway, after that, it's Antichrist.
No,
it's on the list, Curtis. I don't know what to tell you. It's on here.
I'll talk about Antichrist. I'm okay with talking
I can't delete things off this. You've never seen Antichrist.
No, I don't want to see
He's
it.
never
it's
seen
on,
Antichrist.
You should watch. You have
it's
to watch
on
it once.
my mental list of movies I don't want to see.
You got to check it off.
I find
that
it
list.
disturbing. I don't.
It's incredibly
want
disturbing.
To see it.
It's one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen. Not just because of what happens in the film, but because of what it means.
I don't like it.
You're gonna like it. You're gonna dig it. And you know what? After that, we get to Terminator 2, Trancers, and The Guest.
I haven't seen Trancers or The Guest.
Oh, The Guest is real good.
What is The Guest?
The Guest is, all right, get this. Dan, what's his name? He's the guy from the Downton Abbey. Dan.
Never watched Downton Abbey.
Dan Stevens. I believe his name is Dan Stevens. And he's an Iraq War veteran. He comes and he shows up at the house of the family of a man he served with.
Yes, I do know this movie now.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. It looked good. I didn't see it though.
It's excellent.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite films.
Okay. So did you just make... I must have missed this on a podcast. Did you make a list of films to watch?
We made a list of
that need to be
episodes
discussed?
to do.
Yeah, we have like an ongoing list of films and...
It's like you know how the farther out from the present you get, the more wavy and,
and
conceptual it gets.
Speaking of which, can you add Tourist Trap to the list?
Yeah, sure. Is that on any kind of theme or?
It's just good movie.
I still think you should talk about The Ritual.
The Ritual is very good.
He hasn't seen it yet. I would love to come in and talk about it.
I dug it.
I thought that was a great movie.
I'd like to think of something to pair it with. Maybe we could do that in Antichrist.
They're
both kind of like go out in the woods and...
Oh, that would be interesting.
You know?
Actually. Have you thought about doing the Cloverfield trilogy?
Oh, man. The Cloverfield Paradox.
I heard it was bad.
I hated it.
I love Cloverfield, the second one.
The second one is
10 Cloverfield Lane.
Fantastic.
That was really fucking good.
First
Even though I was mad when it ended.
The first one's okay.
I was mad when it ended just because I loved it so much.
Yeah,
I was mad for a different reason. But I think I would... My wife kind of convinced me that, like, go back and think about it again. Because she was, like, 100% on board the whole way through. She loved it.
Oh, yeah. I thought the ending
I was watching
so
that
cool.
and I was like, I'm so fucking on board every beat.
I think a big part of it is, what's his name?
John Goodman.
John Goodman is fucking phenomenal.
He's great. Yeah. He's just a monster at the end of it. It's fantastic.
And it actually made me want to go watch Big Lebowski.
Oh, yeah.
Because
they're doing a theatrical re-release of Big Lebowski.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That's another one you should talk about. But I mean, everybody's probably talked about that at some point.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
we
one
could
that
do
everybody
Big
discusses.
Lebowski and Inherent Vice as a pair, because those are two movies that are very related. And I don't know if any of you have seen Inherent Vice, but I'm a big Inherent Vice fan, both the book and the film.
Did you watch the Swedish Girl trilogy? The actual
Girl with the
film?
Dragon Tattoo.
The Swedish one is ungodly good.
Oh.
See,
Has subtitles.
my thing is, I don't want to watch Antichrist.
Okay, listen, I get that you
We're
don't
past.
watch it.
We're
but you
past the
need to.
point.
We had to watch it, so you like if 2/3 of the group had to watch it.
I've watched that movie multiple times.
Okay,
I'm
that's a
excited to
different
watch
issue.
it again. You didn't know how deeply disturbed I was.
Yeah. My point is, if 2/3 of the group, that forms what we call a majority. Ergo,
this is why having a third person on the podcast is a good idea. We're going to get into less gridlock this way.
Yeah. You should actually see it. Like I wouldn't. Okay, I'll give you an example. I saw this movie, Filth. You ever heard of that movie?
Yeah, the
with
James
McAvoy. Watch that movie, and that is an incredibly disturbing movie that I don't think anybody needs to watch.
It's a pretty good book too.
Oh, you know his book.
Irvine Welsh.
I do like
the guy who wrote
Irvine
Trainspotting.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
The film. And McAvoy's fantastic in it, but I don't think anybody actually needs to see that movie.
It's pretty.
I think you need to see Antichrist.
Let's call it misanthropic. Whereas I don't think Antichrist gets to the misanthropy point. Antichrist isn't like hatred for humanity.
No.
It's like a very specific skewed version of what the world looks like through the lens of just the deepest, most profound depression that you can imagine.
It's excellent.
It'll make you feel like a cheery individual. All right, like it'll make the. Listen, we are past the point where not watching Antichrist is even an option.
It would be.
When was it an option?
Actually, that's the last time
I don't think I've ever been on board about it.
That's what planted the seed.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what planted the seed.
You are going to watch
I don't
my
think I've
seed.
ever been on board, so I don't know that it ever was an option to not do it.
It's on this list. I can show you. It's right there.
It will make for
the audience.
It will make for a really good episode too, because there's so much to talk about.
There's an enormous amount to talk about. Yes.
Whether you like it or not, I think there's a lot to talk about.
Boy, do I like it.
It's
one of my favorite movies. It's like Antichrist, then The Guest. Those are my two favorite
My
movies.
point was, as opposed to Filth, which I think is not fun to watch and you don't feel great after it's over, there are parts of Antichrist that are not fun to watch, but you come out of it feeling like I was very interested in everything that happened in that, and I'm gonna think about it for a while.
You definitely feel changed afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like,
but not in a bad way. It doesn't leave you like feeling shattered and like, oh, the world's a horrible
It doesn't.
place. It
Yeah,
makes you walk
exactly.
away from it going like, there was some weird stuff in there, but and it got me thinking, but it doesn't necessarily make me feel like. You feel like it should have been made. It's a piece of art.
You don't feel dirty after watching Antichrist.
Yeah, I felt
the way
really
that you might expect to.
Yeah, Filth really got me that way.
Filth is a gross story. I haven't seen the movie, but the book is a gross story.
Yeah.
Are we ready to start the podcast? Have we done enough?
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah.
We'll get started.
Well, everybody, welcome to Ben and Curt Till It Hurts, the culture cast caught at the crossroads of furiation and castration, very relevant for Antichrist purposes. I'm Ben.
And I'm Curt.
And this is...
I'm Trevor, a.k.a. TH, if you're reading my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You may notice that you may be able to see us right now. Hi, everybody. welcome to the show. This is what it looks like pretty much every week.
Yeah, it's pretty dirty in here this week. Not that it hasn't been for weeks. But,
but you can't see the dirty parts. There's like a big Meowth doll down there.
I was going to pull it up, but it's buried.
Yeah, you don't know what you
buried
would
in
destroy
garbage.
if you...
There's a growler back here with some stuff still in it.
Some kind of material.
We're not going to talk about
the material.
Kurt's making a face.
We're not going to talk about Kurt's material.
Kurt's now thinking about what actually is in the growler.
What is in the flight?
Yeah, we're here this week. We're going to talk about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the whole book, not just the first half. But first, let's get a little update. Curtis, what you been up to? Whew. Don't say New Vegas.
Loaded.
Say New Vegas. Don't say New
Loaded
Vegas.
question, Ben. I have not played. I have a real thing this week. A little project I put myself on. Trying to get every achievement in New Vegas. No, I've barely played New Vegas. I've been too busy to play it. It's a throwback to the old Curt where he's so busy I can't play video games, so I just listen to music because I'm in my car driving to different places and stuff. So I don't want to get into it too deep. We've been talking about Anthony Fantano a lot on this podcast.
Oh, that video you sent me made me so mad.
Oh, dude, I loved it. I started the video. It's a quick review of every album.
It's a review of a reviewer. There's nothing more banal than this.
I love it. It's so
careful what you wish for.
I'm going to review all of this guy's videos.
So it explores the 4 albums that Anthony Fantano has given a 10. I sent it to you. I thought it would be helpful to get your head in the right spot about the whole thing.
Okay.
Didn't really pan out the way I thought it was going to.
Depends on what you mean by the right spot.
Not where you are.
So it put a lot of rage inside of me.
It didn't work. So anyway, I said I'm going to listen to these albums to just because I don't think I'd listened to 3 of them. No, I listened to Kendrick, so I hadn't listened to the Swans album, and I hadn't listened to the first Death Grips. That's not the first Death Grips, but that Death Grips album, Money Store.
Yeah.
So I listened.
It's their first big breakout mixtape, I believe.
So I listened to them, and I kind of got a feel for them. I actually really liked the Death Grips one, which I never really listened to them before.
Oh, it's a great album.
And I didn't like their newest one. I didn't really listen to much of it, but I didn't love it, so it was cool. And then I started to explore what are some albums that I've always considered a 10. What are my favorite flawless albums? So a lot of this week has just been me grabbing, a certain album and being I think this album is perfect. And I listened to it, and kind of for the first time in a long time, I've listened to Back in Black a million times. But what is it I like so much about it?
What keeps you coming back?
What makes it so I can just put it in on any day and it does the trick? So I've just been kind of going through the CD rack, just getting into it a little bit. Other than that, I'm going to see one of my favorite bands tomorrow, the Acacia Strain. Good music year for me. I'm going to see them tomorrow. And then I found out MC Chris is coming to Portland in October, which, I'm going to go. I'm not expecting to really have a great time, but I'm going to go. And then Doyle from the Misfits is coming to New Hampshire in November. So we've got a lot of concerts lined up, which is cool, because I haven't been into that scene in a long time. I haven't frequently gone to concerts in a long time. But that's about it for me. Yeah. What have you been up to, Ben?
Oh, man, a couple things. First off, relevant to our Shyamalan discussion of Signs, I watched Unbreakable, as if wherever the pre-roll may be, I mentioned it on there. But watched Unbreakable, Bruce Willis, great film. I think that, again, the thing that kind of surprised me that I hadn't noticed about Shyamalan's films when I watched them when I was young is that his visual style is just indomitable. Yeah. He's probably one of the most natural directors that we have or have working, whatever. He's still around, right?
I think he's kind of back.
Right? Yeah,
we're in the process of the comeback.
Although I felt like Split wasn't that well directed overall.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good, but it didn't have the flair. It didn't have the je ne sais quoi of those early films. You know, your Sixth Sense, your Unbreakable, your Signs.
Yeah.
The tendency to use these really odd framings, and not like odd like showy, but odd as like, oh, that's really the best way. That's not like a normal two shot or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's really the best way to communicate what he's getting across. You know, a lot of good close-ups, a lot of good kind of shots that start. There's the shot in Unbreakable where Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson are talking to each other at the stadium where Bruce Willis works, and the shot has them between the two sides of the two seating sides, and it just pulls back, and you kind of see this building come up between them, and they're having this. The dialogue is whatever, you know.
Yeah.
It's good for what it's supposed to be, and I don't think that it was meant to be like much. It's not meant to be like a Tarantino or a Shakespeare or something.
Yeah.
But just overall, as a film, as a cinematic experience, Shyamalan knows how to take moving pictures and light them and direct them and put them on film in a way that makes you remember, like, hey, this is what movies can be. Other than that, the new Death Heaven album came out. Ordinary Corrupt Human Love, I believe, is what it's called. It's great. I'm a big Death Heaven fan. I don't know if either of you guys are.
I don't think I've ever listened to that.
Trevor, you're wearing a metal shirt right now.
Actually, this is a comic book artist.
That's a what?
This is Chris Straub. He does Brood Hall as a comic.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's death metal inspired style for sure. But
Right.
he is a.
He's faking.
I haven't been into like death metal or any metal really since like the 90s. Yeah. I kind of fell. The last big heavy, not even heavy, but the closest I got to heavy stuff was I was listening to like. I went and saw Skillet, Papa Roach, and Trapped in Providence, which was a fantastic show. All three of those bands know what they're doing.
That's a fun bill.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Everyone should listen to Death Heaven. They're very much my shit right now. And have been for several years. Yeah. Sunbather and all that good metal by way of progressive rock. So that's what I've been up to. Trevor, what are you up to? Welcome to the show again.
Thanks for coming on again.
Everyone will remember Trevor from our Babadook and Stranger Things episodes.
Yeah, I gotta try to come on more often.
Didn't we have you once before that?
You and I did one with Jake.
Oh, that was the first one? Yeah. Wow. I thought
it's been like a once a year time. No, it's his third.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What have I been up to? Well, there's a lot of personal parts moving. I'm still trying to write a third book. I don't know when that's going to get done. I'm not really putting a hard cap on it because there's a whole child thing happening in September.
You've got a small human who's going to be your responsibility in a while.
I don't know how we get into that boat.
It's really going to amaze you how much it blows everything up.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Everybody keeps saying, "Are you ready?" And they keep. There's only one answer to that question. No, of course you're not ready. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, the music thing is interesting because I bought my wife tickets to see Sam Smith for her Christmas. I think it was Christmas or her birthday. They're very close to each other. Not really my music. Like, oh, listen, Sam Smith's fine, but like he's pop star. You know, like not big. We went and saw it in TD Bank Garden, and he's fucking phenomenal. Yeah. So like, it reminded me kind of like I never saw any big pop stars when I was like going to concerts. I went to Seven Dust, and I went to Trapped, and I went to like that like alt rock whole scene. So I like to see him though. One, he seems like he's having an incredibly good time the whole time. Two, he seems to know everybody in his band from like back when he got started and goes out of his way to talk about them the whole time he's there. And three, the presentation is so good. And I walked out of it thinking like, okay, I get it. Like he's a good singer, and this is also just he knows how to put on a really good show and make everybody feel like they're having a good time. I'm much more excited about the fact that we are actually seeing a second concert this summer, which is a total like we don't do that. We're gonna go see Lord Huron. Which I don't know if you've heard. Like
he's folk, right?
Yeah, it's a folk band,
folk pop,
folk rock kind of like really, really good. I love their stuff. The only band that I like would have been desperately trying to see lately is Of Monsters and Men, which is probably my favorite band of the last like 5-10 years. I just think they're awesome, and I would love to see them in Reykjavik because they're Icelandic, and I've seen live videos of them performing there in the park, and it's like, well, that would be a pretty cool thing to go do. But like that's been I've really only music wise I listened to them, the Gorillaz, which I just listen to all the time anyway. and then I can't listen to music with lyrics when I'm writing, so I have a lot of like Ronald Jenkins and like just background
Ronald
stuff.
Jenkins.
Yeah, I throw a lot of that stuff on the back.
I haven't heard that name in a long time.
I have never heard that name before.
Oh my god! We're gonna take you on an adventure before you leave.
Yeah. Okay.
Go down to YouTube.
A little disorganized fun for this guy.
Absolutely.
Boom.
Yeah. Oh, throwing fire is maybe is that what it is? Throwing fire, something like that.
That's a good one.
That's one of my favorite ones. Yeah. But if I put that on at the early process of writing, it helps. The rhythm just helps me get going. Then I can turn it off and focus. But I can't have anything with like words coming in because then the words start showing up on the page and it all gets screwed up. Other than that,
you're a plagiarist.
Yep. Yeah. Like you don't want to go down that road.
No.
The only thing I've been doing is I've been playing Dark Souls 3. And I have become a From Software fan.
Cool, they're great.
I didn't think it was going to happen because I was
Kurt's not in this club.
No, I didn't think I would be either.
Which is weird because he likes old video games.
Yeah, and it is very constructed on a lot of classic tenets of video games.
Oh yeah, old action games.
Yeah, but it has themes that I like. Like there's a lot of Lovecraftian stuff as we talked about before. And then I've been playing Fortnite, which I know is what all the kids are doing.
Boo! Boo. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds.
But I played Fortnite with a bunch of people that I met when I was at PAX East, so it's like it's more of a social hangout, and then we play video games.
Man, all those I'm down to clown with any and all battle royale style games.
Yeah,
I think that it's like the best thing going on right now. It's the thing that got me into multiplayer games.
Yeah, that's what happened to us. This is an important thing. I was not into multiplayer games. I wanted people to leave me the hell alone, which is how I am generally.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But this is like if you find people that you have fun either cooperating with or just screwing around or just screwing up and you can laugh about it and everybody's on the same page, it's a fucking blast. And that's why I've been playing it. Yeah. Plus, it's free. Yeah. Which ain't nothing.
No, yeah, that's true.
You know.
That's true.
So that's what that's what I've been doing. Everything else is, trying to prepare for the upcoming shitstorm.
I gotta say, one of the good ways you can prepare for the upcoming shitstorm is to play a lot of Fortnite because you're not going to get a chance.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
You are not going to be able to.
I've been saying, like, guys, September 7th rolls around, I'm out.
Yeah. How long is a Fortnite round generally?
Well, with us, they're about 30 seconds because we land and get killed. But we're also, this is another, I think I may have mentioned this before.
A baby can have 3 emergencies in 30 seconds.
At minimum.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to get on 30 seconds. She rolled right over.
Roll right over it. Now I'm done. Yeah. No, I put forth this, what I call $1 million idea that someone told me sounds more like a $10,000 idea.
That's still good.
Which
is
take
$10,000.
Age-gated gaming. So, like, I play hockey in men's leagues. You have 30-plus men's leagues. Why is there not a 30-plus gaming multiplayer?
Yeah.
I can't deal with these 12-year-olds and all the Adderall they're snorting before they blow me away from 20 miles out. Like, I can't do it.
They're inhumanly good at these games.
I don't have fast-twitch muscles anymore.
No.
I barely have muscles.
I can barely move in the morning.
Yeah.
I try to move and I feel like I'm moving in slow motion. I hate it.
Yeah.
That's my $10,000 idea.
Yeah, 30-plus.
Do you think you could get enough people in that age bracket online at the same time?
Well, see, this would be the beauty of it. The baby rolls over. Guys, I gotta go. There's 20 other people playing the game that's having the same problem right then.
They understand.
Yeah, no one's getting mad.
Yeah, no. You save your baby.
No one's gonna call you a racial slur.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get somebody that's like 360 no scope 420 blaze forever yelling at me.
No, that's my username.
Yeah.
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 Outed.
Weird.
So yeah, not up to much. Not a lot of exciting stuff going on. Trying to write a book is, I think I explained this before, but the first 2 books were really intended to be one book, but no one will buy someone's first book if it's 1,000 pages, justifiably so. So I split it into 2, and I knew what I was doing when I wrote the second one, so it was fast. And then I got to the third one, and now it's going to be like a multi-year process.
It's a Patrick Rothfuss situation.
I don't think it's quite there because I anticipate not getting as hung up on it.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong, though, so there's no real reason to say that.
6 years down the line, we're going to be on for our Antichrist episode that I eventually convinced Curtis to do. And
next week?
Like, still working on it.
I'm going to keep
still working on it.
We should do this. I'm excited about this.
You're going to have to keep stringing me
next week.
You're going to have to keep finding things that I'm more excited to do than Antichrist, but my excitement to rewatch Antichrist is just going to keep growing and growing, and I got to tell you, it's already pretty high. I'm already pretty excited. I think about it often.
You're going to come home and Ben's going to be in your living room with the TV ready to go.
DVD copy of Antichrist.
It's like, you ready?
Yeah. VHS copy of Antichrist. That's the only proper way to watch it.
When did that come out?
2010, 2009, around then.
He still had VHS?
No, well outside the VHS.
He was joking.
Well, but it's like vinyl, though. I feel like you're going to get VHS coming back like vinyl. Even though vinyl actually has reasons to want to use it.
Oh, don't let one of our listeners hear you fucking say that.
God.
He'll send you a YouTube video.
Yep.
That's fine.
The crisp digital age that we live in.
I've never been as crisp as I am now, I will say that.
I've been crisper.
Yeah. Feel a little stale.
I've been crisper. My Halo 2 days, I was crisper.
Yeah, you know, I think when I put in some real hours into Left 4 Dead 2, I was pretty... No, that was probably, like, peak. That was pretty crispy.
You were pretty frosty.
That's the problem with Fortnite. All these people playing against me are crispier.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I am not. Like, Halo 2, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I was... Left 4 Dead, right there. I was good at those games.
Yep.
I am not good at this game.
You know what the scary thing is? I think about, like... I always tell myself, like, oh, man, if I had time to play like I used to, I'd be good. But, like, part of me is just, like... my brain's probably just kind of old and shittier than it was then.
It's those fast twitch muscles, man.
Like, I just can't respond. No
your
matter how much I
StarCraft 2,
play.
your actions per minute are like way down.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's partially that. I also think that the game, these are different. Like, Fortnite is really different.
Yes.
And, like, I played Call of Duty World War II multiplayer when I broke my leg in the March, and so I couldn't do anything, and that game required no investment on my part, so the painkillers weren't really affecting my enjoyment of what I was doing. Yeah. And I was still pretty good at that as an FPS, like Halo 2.
Yeah.
I think Fortnite's just a different animal because of all the other things that happen in the course of a game.
Right.
And the things, how you're supposed to respond and how quickly you're supposed to respond.
There's a lot to keep track of in a Battle Royale game.
Right. And then you watch somebody who's playing it at a high level and you just go, well, okay, so that ship sailed. Because I can't do the 16 functions you're doing. I mean, they must have macros. I don't know. Like, there must be something going on there, but it's like, this is the 30-plus gaming idea. This is why this is a good idea.
Bunch of turtles hobbling around.
It won't be long before I'll be able to join your league.
Yeah. Well, listen, we'll make exceptions for those who play at the 30-plus level.
Yeah, what kind of test do you run for that?
Make sure you're slow enough to join our league.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Tell you though, $10,000 idea.
Yeah.
Get in while it's hot. Buy into that IP.
You gotta write that on an envelope and mail it to yourself.
Gotta write it on this checkbook that Curt left over here in the corner.
Yeah.
We use that to prop the window open.
Yeah, I use my checks to keep the window open.
Yeah.
When's the last time any of you wrote a check?
Dude, I write checks all the time.
He said that the other day.
Yeah, you know what I've had?
Checks.
Fuck, of course I use checks. You know what I've got after having a baby? Hospital bills. All right? She was, you write a lot of checks. You get a lot of bills in the mail and you write a lot of checks to pay them. Yeah. Yeah. Plus I pay my rent by check. Yeah.
Better find those checkbooks then.
Yeah.
I start thinking about that.
Yeah, you gotta. There's a lot of stuff that
my wife pays everything by check, but I'm just like, have you heard of this digital pay thing?
I have come to love checks. All right, there's something it's the vinyl recording of paying bills. Soon I might start paying for my groceries by check. I don't know. I might be one of those people. I sit there. I'm like, how much is it? $65.71. All right, I'll write you a check.
When are you gonna get to the point where you're writing checks for under $1?
Yeah.
Like, when does that happen?
When you're
I'd like to buy a single stamp, and I will be paying with a check.
3 or 4 days later, when you're trying to pay a different bill, and you're like, I don't know if the money in my bank account is actually representative of what I have in the bank because I don't know if these checks I've sent have been cashed or if they're going to wait until 2 months and 30 days to cash it.
Yeah, that's the main reason I ditch checks. I don't like that. I don't like that feeling of not knowing what the number is. And
you know what I like?
I'm living on the edge. I ain't got no safety net.
I like when I go to Walmart and I spend a bunch of money and then I come home and I look at my bank account and it's like Walmart minus whatever. You're like, that's instant. Love you, Walmart. The only good thing about Walmart is that they instantly take your money. They don't. They don't
wait around.
They don't wait 3 days on you and then
I'm gonna have to process
pull out a
$300. The only good thing about Walmart is they instantly take your money.
You don't have to wonder.
No, you don't have to wonder when it's gonna come and if you can pay another bill instead or none of that.
No.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone right away.
What are we doing here again?
It's as if you never had it. All right, this week we're talking about. Loyal listeners may remember we started talking about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe a few weeks ago. We pretty much only got through the parts where they are not in Narnia yet, so there wasn't a great deal to talk about. But now we have all finished reading the book. Curtis and I have finished reading the book. TH, of course, has read it before. And now we're going to talk about the thrilling conclusion. There are no fewer than 3 separate chapters in this book that I would count as my favorite chapters in the book.
Okay.
They are, 1, the chapter where Edmund and the Queen are hanging out, and everything starts to melt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great chapter. And it's immediately after the Santa Claus appearance, which is just bonkers. Yeah. I always forget that happens.
I forgot that happened.
I forgot that happened. Even I read it.
It's a very weird part of the book.
Yeah. But
I don't know how I feel about it being in the book, but it's fine.
It's fascinating.
It's
very fascinating. And the way he describes it, where he's like, you know Santa Claus is jolly, but you don't quite expect his jolliness to make you feel so solemn.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting way of putting that, and an interesting way of imagining what the aura of like actually meeting Santa Claus would be.
And then when he gives you weapons.
He gives you a sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
he gave Lucy a healing salve.
And there were some daggers and stuff.
Yeah. You know how it is.
He balanced it out with the salve.
They ended up needing it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Hey.
All's well that ends well. My other favorite chapter is It Makes Me Cry Every Time. It's the one where Lucy and Susan intercept Aslan as he's heading to the stone table in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And he says, he like pauses for a second, and he's like, yeah, you know what? I do think I could use some company. And then they walk up, he tells them to wait, and they watch the whole thing go down.
Yeah.
They watch the White Queen, the White Witch, and her minions, her evil creatures, kill Aslan on the stone table, sacrifice
Basically
him.
Inviting them to childhood trauma is what he does.
Well, sort of, but he knows what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, it's true.
He knows what's going to happen.
He could have maybe dropped a hint or two about that right before he had these kids watch him be ritually murdered.
His big, sad face was enough of a hint.
Yeah, I suppose.
And then, oh gosh, what would I say the third one is? I mean, the very end of the book is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, the chapter where you see them all as grown adults, kings and queens of Narnia, and they're out hunting, and then they see in a much older wood with a much older trees, they see that lamppost is still there, and they go past it, and they leave Narnia, and they are back in the same hour of when they left. They've had a lifetime of experience.
That makes me want to throw up.
Yes.
The first time I experienced that, I can't remember if I had seen the movie and then read the book or not.
Do they do that in the movie? Do they do the whole aging thing?
They must.
They do, yeah. They're
must.
like old, and then they find the cabinet and they like tumble out of it.
I'm sure you're right. For some reason, I had remembered the film where they don't actually have the full life of experience before they go back, which I'm gonna say I think is actually better. But
yeah,
why? It fills me with existential dread.
It doesn't make you feel existential Lovecraftian dread.
No, because I never got existential Lovecraftian dread from Lewis's Narnia.
From his ending.
Yeah, no, I felt like, I don't know. It feels almost like the way that he just sort of like, oh, by the way, and they live these whole other lives that I'm not going to tell you anything about, and then they go back. Was sort of like, were you meaning to end this story a different way, and then you decided not to? I mean, I'm 100% certain that's not what happened, but I kind of feel like almost yada-yadaing their.
Well, I thought that because he does almost literally yada yada.
Yeah.
Where he said the way he describes what they did was like, and there were still some troubles, but they kind of took care of it, and they generally just kind of let people be, and and they whoever, all the people that just wanted to kind of live their lives in peace, they just encouraged that, and
I may not be remembering this correctly, so correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. But none of that experience gets referenced later when they go back.
I have no idea.
They don't go into any. So that's right, because you're reading through the whole thing for the first time, correct?
Yeah, if we continue doing it for the podcast.
Well, whether or not, you should read the whole thing anyway. It's worth reading. As much as I said before we start recording that, I think this is the best book, and I think that particularly when you hit Dawn Treader, it starts to be kind of a bit downhill and convoluted. There are some good. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I think that what bothers me is like. He yada yada's the adulthood part, or going into adulthood part, and then he never really goes back to like when they decide to return, or if some of them decide to return, that they don't have that to pull on. And I can't remember if he does the whole Deus Ex Machina to explain why they don't have some of their previous experience to pull on, but it seems like that would almost be kind of relevant. if there's a return that occurs, which we know there's a return that eventually occurs for at least some of the characters. So, backtracking quite a bit, the Edmund scene is by far my favorite. When he's with the White Witch is the best part of the book.
Yeah, and everything starts.
He as a character might be my favorite part
Edmund.
of the book. Oh yeah.
Well, I love where Edmund ends up at the end.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
He's a because he feels the most real.
He has the biggest journey of any of the kids.
Yeah, and I guess that's a better way of putting it, because a lot of the others just become more true to who they already are.
Yeah. As
the story goes on, whereas he figures out who he actually is.
Yeah, he has to struggle as a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his slow understanding of the fact that he has essentially sided with the bad guys or been duped by the bad guys is really fun and incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah,
because like you're reading it, going like, "You're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot." Like you know
the narrator is telling you as much. Yeah,
and that actually makes him a lot more like interesting. That's a bad word. Compelling, I guess. Like I want to read his scenes more often because I'm so interested to see how far he's going to go before he snaps out of it, and what he's going to do when he does, which is I think the more interesting part. How do you, when you realize you've made an error in life?
Yeah.
How do you go about making amends for what you did wrong?
Yeah.
And he has to figure that out. That's to me one of the reasons why this is such a good book.
And it all seems to come down to Aslan, right?
Yeah.
It's like he talks to Aslan, and Aslan's they go off and have a conversation that you can kind of imagine, but I don't think that it's exactly shown in the book. You can kind of imagine what they say. Aslan's like, "Do you know what you did wrong?" And it's like, "Yes, absolutely." And Aslan's like, "All right."
I forgive you.
All right, yeah, exactly. The very picture of forgiveness. What did you think of the book, Curtis?
I enjoyed it. I think the Santa chapter was my favorite. That was just fucking bonkers. Like, for as weird as that is, I can't believe I completely forgot that it happens, and it was just like a.
Does it happen in the movie?
I don't know.
Yes.
It does?
Yeah, it does.
What the fuck?
I haven't seen the movie since it came out.
I want to say that in the film, it's been a while since I saw the film.
I'm going to look this up.
The film did not stick with me the way the book did. I want to say that in the film, they're not overtly telling you that it's Santa.
Okay.
It's like...
Father Christmas.
Yeah, there's like enough hints dropped in his
him,
attire and presentation and all these other things that it's like, okay, this is Santa Claus. But they don't come right out and say that. I think, I may be... It's been a long time since I saw the film.
It's Tim the Toolman Taylor, right? He's dressed as...
right.
He's dressed as Santa Claus.
Now I have the theme song stuck in my head. Damn it, Home Improvement.
So one of the things that I enjoyed in the second half of the book that really stuck with me from the first half was, I think I made a comment when we were reading the first half about the beavers and just how pleasantly British they are. Yeah. Like it was
the beavers are my favorite characters.
So charming, and then when there's this really funny thing with British literature, especially older stories. What are we? Yeah, they don't say
it, but that's
right. Exactly, enough. They don't say it, but they make him look enough like it. Yeah. Sorry, the beavers.
No, so there's just this thing that happens in English literature where anything it's so their life revolved such around comfort that even when they write, they can't get away from that comfort. When I was 15, I read an H.G. Wells story about a guy who was so poor, the only maid he could have was his widowed sister. And it's dude, you still have a maid. And you're reading this story of the intent is for you to be oh, that poor bastard. He can't even afford a real maid. He has to use his dead-ass widowed sister. And that was I felt the same way when I was reading this, when they go on their journey, they bring tea and food and bread, and they bring a bread knife. And you have a dagger. Why are you bringing a bread knife with you?
That's not what that thing's for.
Exactly. It's the most British. Should I bring my sewing machine?
Oh, this is my favorite deep reading of Narnia I've ever heard. This is fantastic.
I just hate to think of them touching my sewing machine.
Seriously. And then another I don't think I ever finished the book, but I was excited when I was a kid to read Robinson Crusoe, and I was reading it, and I was like, what the fuck? He has a servant, and you think he needs to like survive, and then he swims to the capsized boat and finds like 15 axes and stuff, and it's like this whole thing is about comfort. Like, I have this comfortable life, and then I lose my comfort, but I still have comfort on a deserted island.
There's a little bit of a Lord of the Rings element to that as well.
This
You
is
have
the
hobbits.
Yeah.
The Shire
Tolkien's
is
very open about that. He basically says like the hobbits are supposed to be the British.
Yeah.
With all the British comforts, who as
they're the
Bilbo
most
says,
Britishest British.
Yeah. Who never want to go on any adventures or do anything exciting because excitement equals danger. It's essentially Bilbo's entire character, and that's a really good, and it makes sense, right? We mentioned before that Lewis and Tolkien were really close.
Yeah.
The Inklings grew up.
But I just loved that part of the book where they're like, we need to get going. Like, let's pack some things. Why rush?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like a pretty
fantastic.
fucking important time to rush. Like,
Yeah.
and then they have like booze. They give the kids booze so they fall asleep and they take naps along the way.
To be fair, at the time the book was written, that was a pretty standard practice.
For like how important
Uh-huh.
this situation is, it was like the most comfortable journey. Like, and I just really appreciated that.
Yeah, it's like things. There are many moments where it seems like things would be more dire than they are.
It is an especially British thing too to like be going toward danger, but you must make sure tea is available.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What if you get to tea time and you have no tea? What's going to happen then?
I mean, it's even in like literature around World War I and World War II when you talk about like the infantry going off to war and like what was in a ration pack for an American soldier versus a British soldier or a French soldier is such a fascinating little like window into a culture, and it is like. I never thought of the beavers like that, though, Curt. That's good. It really makes me appreciate that even more, and they were already my favorites.
Yeah.
What else we got?
All right.
Other favorite chapter? When Edmund still won't give up on trying to like make it with the White Witch, and then he finally like snaps and she essentially like feeds him dog food. Like it's like a metal bowl with water and like brown crusty.
Yeah, because he's like, what's up? Give me some more of that Turkish delight. Come on. She's like, no, put this on the ground. You eat
Are you hungry? Here you go.
Yeah.
A metal bowl full of dried bread. Like,
yeah.
I really like that.
Do you think Edmund is dumb?
I think that Edmund is a little twisted at the age that he's at in this book, and I think that he hates his siblings.
Yeah.
I think that the harboring of the hate inside of him is what allows the White Witch to get in.
Because this is a discussion I've heard, or an argument I've heard before, which is that, like, either he has a little bit of a dark side to him where that ball of hate is sort of, like, festering, or he's just a bit entitled and a little bit dense, and so the minute somebody gives him something that he doesn't have to fight his siblings for or have to, like, you know, feels like he's not falling short of them for, he's instantly in the pocket of that person because he just wants someone to treat him like he's great even if he's actually not.
Yeah,
it's that entitlement thing.
Yeah.
Is it, I mean, I'm curious what you both think, because I'm not sure where I fall on it. I think that it's easy to sympathize with him if he's just dopey and he made a dumb mistake, which is kind of how Aslan treats him.
Yeah.
In that off-camera conversation is sort of just says, like, you know, not there, it's okay, but sort of like, you get it, right? Okay, fine.
Yeah, you realize you fucked up.
But is Aslan really saying to him, like, have you come to grips with the dark part of yourself? Is that, because that's a real conversation, is that what's actually happening off the side?
I mean, I think that the reason he's able to go so wrong is because he chooses maliciously to ignore the dark part of himself. Then I think that the conversation that Aslan has to have with him is like, look, you got to keep this in check because you can get down to some really bad stuff if you don't.
Yeah. I attributed a lot of it to age, too, because when they first introduced the characters, there are the two older ones and the two younger ones. And as you said earlier, the three of the characters kind of just become more of what they already were, and Edmund's really the only one that changes. Edmund's kind of also the only one that's at the age where he's turning from the young one to the older one. So he's kind of, as I read it, kind of like hitting that point where he's becoming smart enough and clever enough to be a little maniacal, but not mature enough to know better. So I think part of it is he's just in that age where you're kind of crossing from the young one to the older. kid with the maturity to...
And you have to make some tough choices.
Yeah, realize why things are good or bad or okay to do or not okay.
And the one thing that it mentions several times, at least 2 times, maybe even 3, is this school. The school that Edmund has started going to. That,
that's right.
That he was different before he went to this school. Right?
Right.
Yeah, it mentions it in the narration once at the beginning where they're kind of thinking, because they know Edmund's being a bit nasty, right? Yeah. And they just figure like, well, he's kind of been this way ever since he started going to that school. And then at the end, after the battle, when Edmund gets very badly injured, and Lucy goes over and helps heal him with the salve that she got from Father Christmas, it mentions it again, and it mentions that it's the first time Edmund has looked happy and himself since he started going to that horrible school.
Well, that kind of is C.S. Lewis, though, right? Like, he got shipped away to boarding school when he was like 9.
Was it? I haven't done this research.
I think his mother died when he was young, and his dad shipped him off to boarding school.
He did not have a good relationship with his father.
Yeah.
That much I know.
And I think that, and I know C.S. Lewis went through a period where he renounced his faith.
Yep.
So I think maybe that is his, maybe he is Edmund, where coming back to terms with God was, that
it could be why it's such
journey
a well-drawn,
that he had to make.
It's such a well-drawn arc in the book, is because he's felt it.
Do we want to talk about that Christian influence on this, or the Inklings in general? Because Lord of the Rings is like heavy on the Christian influence too.
Yeah, and it's interesting to talk the conversation, to draw the distinction between influence and allegory, because I feel like I've seen Tolkien has absolutely denied that the Lord of the Rings is an allegory, but you can't deny the influence.
Yeah, Tolkien's denied a lot of things. He's fascinating. Funny story with Tolkien is like, so in the Riders of Rohan, the Rohirrim speak Anglo-Saxon, which Tolkien was one of those like 7 languages that he knew. And when someone basically pointed that out to him and said like they dress like Anglo-Saxons, prior to 1066, and they speak this language, he just went no. And so he's denied things that a lot of scholars have later basically said like he can deny it, but it's obvious that it's true.
Yeah.
The 2 ones that I think are worth talking about being influenced as opposed to being allegory are World War One, which Tolkien fought in, which a lot of people have pointed out Mordor sounds a lot like No Man's Land, the trenches and the horrors of trench warfare, and the Christian influence, which there's a lot of Gandalf the White coming back, like there's pretty difficult to deny that. And then so you get Lewis, who is much more open about saying essentially that if it's not allegory, it is incredibly heavily influenced by his return to his Christian belief.
Yeah.
A lot of people have said, I don't necessarily know that I completely agree, but that Aslan is basically supposed to be Jesus.
I think that 100%.
Yeah.
It's a very direct, and it's a reference to parts of the Christian mythology that you don't necessarily see articulated very often.
Right.
Like this idea of, all right, exactly why did Christ die on the cross? Right. Well, it's because, and the one line that one of the lines that I really liked was when the White Witch is talking about how she owns Edmund, because Edmund is a traitor. It's this idea that, okay, Edmund sinned, so he belongs to this person, the devil, right? The devil gets all the sinners. And Aslan says something like, just because you were the emperor beyond the seas hangman, you think that gives you this privileged place.
Yeah.
The idea of the White Witch, and by extension the devil, being just the hangman, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's not really a privileged
just because you
place.
doom a person to the worst version of themselves does not give you ownership over them.
Yeah, exactly. And then Aslan is able to come in and replace Edmund's blood with his own blood. And then he's given this, what is it, deeper magic from before the dawn of time is, I think, the name of the chapter.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, there was always this other thing that could happen. If someone wholly undeserving sacrifices himself in the place of someone who is wholly deserving, then they will be resurrected, and et cetera, et cetera.
I think you're probably right that Aslan's a pretty direct one-for-one for Christ. The thing that I think makes me like this book more than the other ones is that while there's a lot of other allegorical reference and there's a lot of other influence, it's not as overt. And I feel, and I'll be interested when you get further into the series, that later it becomes almost like a one-for-one in too many ways. And now you're just reading a children's fantasized version of the Bible.
Right.
Which, frankly, just go read the Old Testament. It's pretty good.
Like, it's really good.
There's some pretty amazing stuff in there. So
it's pretty darn good. There's stories in there we don't know how old they are.
Right, and that I mean...
Well, the whole sons of Adam and daughters of Eve thing makes it kind of signposts that's where things are going to
Exactly. There's some amazing stuff in there, and I think that a lot of what Lewis was attempting to do was to prevent, like you were saying, Curt, he got like his faith broken and then had to get it back. He's trying to prevent that from happening to young people.
Right.
Because he thinks it's such an important part of like their growing up.
It's very much a post-enlightenment, post-rational enlightenment book, because one of the things that the rational enlightenment did was kind of suck some of the magic out of people's faith, out of like people's worldview, and it made a secular worldview much more available. So I think one of the great things that Lewis does in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is inject a bit of that sense of wonder into things by allowing you, he constructs a fantasy world so that you can believe fantastical things can happen in it, so that you can see the actual emotional impact and the real impact within that world of the fantastical things that you are able to accept because of the setting. Yeah. I think it's a really cool sleight of hand that he pulls.
No, that part is about as masterful as you get.
Yeah.
He basically just finds a way to get you into a state of mind that he wants you to be in and to accept all the things he's going to tell you without really doing a whole lot of like heavy lore lifting like Tolkien has to do. Right.
Yeah, I mean, Tolkien was the kind of guy that did all his own languages, and the story started
that was
from
the only
languages.
Thing he actually cared about. The story was like not even secondary.
It was a justification for the languages.
Yeah. Did you like it, Curt?
I did, yeah. I mean, I wish I had read it when I was younger. I think it would have had I did like it, but I think I would have liked it more if I were younger. I don't even know how I came upon it in high school. That was the first time I had ever read it, but I've always been a big Wizard of Oz fan, so I think I kind of just like read it because it was in a similar thing, I guess. But I really liked it. I was really nervous this morning because I hadn't read
You hadn't done the homework.
No, and so I had to listen to like an audio book of it, like I was saying earlier, which in some ways was really cool because it was a nice British lady reading it, so she was doing like voices for the characters, and like it made it feel more like a story. The only downside was that like it's for kids, so like she was reading it so slowly that like I this morning I flipped it open the book and I looked at it and I was like all right, that's like 50 pages. Like I can, if I get home today, I can just burn through that. That's fine. And I think the audio book that I listened to was like 2.5 hours long. And I was like, I could have read that so much fucking I could have read 30 pages in like an hour. And it was just like, but it was cool. There were some aspects of having the story that I really liked. But I mean, overall, I really liked it. I have read some of the other ones before, and I'm a little bit nervous because I think if we keep going, I recall them dropping off pretty quickly. Like,
well, I gotta say, I kind of suggested this series before I had even dropped into any of these books, since I've read them when I was, pre-adolescent, but haven't read them since. I don't know if we need to do the rest of them, really.
I mean, we can start...
We've at least got to do a Resident Evil novel before we try. All right? So let's see how we feel after Resident Evil 1. And,
I was going to say, we can do another one. We don't have to commit to all of them or none of them, down the road.
We'll see how we feel. I got to say, though, I don't see us doing the next one soon.
Yeah.
I think that, in my opinion, as somebody who really likes the Lewis and Tolkien sphere of influence and them themselves, I think it's very hard to do the whole series. I think if you're doing Lord of the Rings, which I love, I still wouldn't do Fellowship and then immediately roll into Two Towers and immediately roll into Return. You'd probably space it out a couple months, because I think you end up repeating a lot of the same discussion and losing some of the interest, because you're like, well, we're just revisiting this theme again. Whereas if you come back to it, you're like, oh man, there's something else here.
Maybe give it a year.
Yeah, man.
I definitely keep reading it. I would make the argument, even though I am someone who, like you, feels like there's a drop off in Lewis's later work, I still think it's worth reading. It's not a ringing endorsement.
We'll get enough series going at once so that you have enough. We'll do Resident Evil episode, a Narnia episode, Wizard of Oz, Puppet Master. What else are we doing? We'll just get enough so that when it comes back...
Antichrist. We'll do an Antichrist series. We'll do a Lars von Trier series.
All I'm saying is we'll get enough so that...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Apparently bringing up Antichrist caused
something
serious
bad
problem.
That's a sign.
Yeah. Signs and wonders, man.
That's an omen.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Antichrist? There's going to be screeching.
You want to talk about fucking omens? All right. Are we ready to transition away from Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? It's getting late. We've been talking for a while.
Let's wrap this up.
Let's start wrapping this up.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts on Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I feel like I've given my final thoughts already.
Yeah, great book. I don't know what else to say.
People should read it.
Yep.
Yeah. If you haven't read it, give it a read.
You should read it. You should read it to your kids if you've got kids in the.
Yeah, definitely read it to your kids.
School. They will love it. It will go over well. It's worth reading.
Yeah.
So,
bad omens. All right, I'm gonna do an omen, and then we're gonna get into Dreamcast.
Okay,
you guys ready?
Everyone's gonna see, or not so much see, the transition to a Dreamcast.
Darkcast stream is gonna be. Oh man,
it's gonna be special.
Lights are out. You can't see anything.
So this very week, all right, at my work, we have it's a school. We've got a playground, and at the playground, kind of on different sides, we have bird feeders. We had our break recently. And we came back from that break, and we were out, my co-teacher and I were out with one of our students. He was playing on the swings, and my co-teacher was looking at the bird feeder. And he kind of walked around it, and then he just walked up to me and he said, "You should go see if there's anything weird about that bird feeder." And I walked over, and I couldn't see it. But he said, "You might have to go to the other side to see." So I walk over to the other side, and a squirrel's paw is like poked through the slat of the bird feeder, and it's like it's curled up as though it was trying to claw its way out.
Geez.
There was a dead squirrel trapped inside of the bird feeder.
It's a tough way to go.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Or the best way to go, depending on how you feel about it.
Yeah. I died as I love to live. Surrounded by bird seed. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so that's my bad omen. You guys ready to do some dreams?
Let's do some Dreamcast.
All right, Darkcast?
I think we gotta do Darkcast.
Okay.
Can we get a final shut on the door so we feel safe?
Oh, yep. Nothing about.
So you don't think someone's coming in?
Nothing about Darkcast.
TH, can you draw the blinds?
Is it this?
No, it's the button in the middle of the press and pull down.
Everybody on the live stream, say goodbye.
We'll be back. Darkcast.
Darkcast.
Alright, laptop screen has to go down. So the rule with Darkcast, you probably know from listening, is that we can't start, we have to vamp until people's faces change in the dark. That's so. Anyone got anything to talk about for a minute?
Any complaints or grievances about the podcast thus far that we'd like to get out?
Complaints or grievances?
Just this episode?
Yeah, anytime, and podcast related or not.
The only grievance that Kurt's gonna have is about Antichrist.
Yeah, I feel.
Should we get into Antichrist?
I feel a feeling when I think about watching that.
Describe it to me.
It's a very stomach feeling. It's a very pit of my stomach, uncomfortable. There are certain movies that I don't want to watch.
What are some other movies like that for you?
I will not watch The Human Centipede.
Don't compare.
I've been told that it's not as bad as it sounds, or The Human Centipede's really not that bad, but it just invokes this emotional feeling of like I just don't want.
I feel like the lore around the thing is actually overtaken.
And then the other one that I can think of immediately is like definitely a hard turn from that. But I will never watch a Serbian film. That's just not.
Okay. I know enough about that to know I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, that's not a movie most people know about, and it's not something that I ever need to see. So
here's the thing about Antichrist, all right? The thing about Antichrist is that the parts that you hear about take up maybe 20 minutes of the movie.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
A movie's only like 90 minutes long, man.
It's like 2 hours, isn't it? Antichrist?
Yeah, I think Antichrist is about 2 hours. It's about 20 minutes, all right?
So that's 100 minutes that are not involving.
100 minutes that are actually scarier than the 20 minutes that you hear most about.
Right.
right? It's the slow creeping dread that gets into you that you should really be scared of.
It's the tension building.
Exactly, it's the tension. It's the way all these pieces start fitting together, and you just start like the way he frames it, and the way he's written it, and the sound design. Chaos reigns, Curtis. We're gonna watch Antichrist.
Another movie that I know I mentioned before in like our texting.
Yep.
Did either of you end up watching Bad Batch?
Nope.
No.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I would recommend watching it. I'm not sure it's good. I just and this is I don't say that with like a. It's a me going. I watched the whole thing. I was interested the whole time. It ended, and I wasn't sure it was good. But it's Jason Momoa. And Keanu Reeves in a very, very bizarre Keanu Reeves role. I'm not sure of the lead female actress who's the main character, but it's like it's Mad Max without the action.
Without the car chases.
Yeah, it's Mad Max set in like that type of world, but a very zoomed in, small conversation about like what this would actually be like. And I liked it, and then I wasn't sure that I should have. Or I don't know. Like, it just, it also is, the thing that I think is most enjoyable about it, the first 40 minutes, there's basically no talking. It's all done through physical acting.
I can dig that.
And then it gets a little too talky maybe later based on how well it was done before. Not that the dialogue or anything about it is bad, but just that, like, I don't know. It's, to two people that I respect the opinions of, I'd like to know what you thought of that particular film.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
I'll watch that one. Do you have Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
So
price increase? Yeah, I know.
Oh, I didn't know about that. But
yeah,
hopefully some of that money goes towards the workers that they have enslaved. I noticed the other day that all the Leprechaun films are on Amazon Prime.
Oh, Jesus.
So Leprechaun series coming up.
Yep.
I would be down for that.
Right up.
The first one alone is worth watching.
You know what, though?
The Hood's great.
I'm just saying.
Leprechaun in Space, love it.
Didn't see that one.
You didn't?
That one's worth watching.
That one's not, I don't know.
Solely on the idea of, like, it has like a lower budget than like a Power Rangers set. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. So it's like Jason X.
It's amazing what they did. It's a lot like Jason X.
It's amazing
which I like.
That it
Jason X is a good bad movie.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. It's just amazing that it exists and is as bad as it is.
Yeah.
That's Leprechaun in Space.
Who's the actor that played the Leprechaun in all of the films?
Warwick Davis.
Yeah,
Warwick Davis, but then there was another guy that took over for him, wasn't it? Or did he do all of them?
I think someone, the WWE wrestler, may have.
I can't fact check it.
Taken over. I can't remember.
Have you guys ever done anything about Willow?
No.
On the podcast? No. Neither of you watched Willow?
It was the same guy, right?
No. Warwick Davis, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Really?
No, never
seen it.
I feel like we should do something about it.
Ben, I'm sending you home this week with Simon Birch. I keep forgetting to send it home with you.
Oh, yep. Okay.
And then, so the other thing, I think we have our Halloween series for this year planned.
Yep.
I think Leprechaun would be a good series to find something to pair. If we can find another series, that could be the 2020 or the 2019.
What does Leprechaun make me think of? Yeah, I don't know. I gotta think on it.
Yeah, well, we have time. We have like a year and a half, so.
Is Leprechaun like a horror comedy?
Yeah, it's very funny. I watched the first one on Amazon.
Is there something in the vein of either pure horror or pure comedy that's adjacent to it?
We could do it with Puppet Master.
Leprechaun plus Puppet Master. That's pretty good.
I love Puppet Master.
Me too. There are way more Puppet Master movies than...
We looked at a DVD actually earlier. There are 9
of them?
There are more than 9 now.
Shut the fuck up. Why are there more than 3?
They keep making them.
Hey, can I tell you something, Curtis?
Yeah.
Can I talk to you about something?
Darkcast is the perfect place.
It's a safe space.
This just popped back into my mind.
Uh-huh.
So in the course of making the Full Moon Features streaming theme song that I made, I wanted to actually get a feel for what the Full Moon streaming service was like.
Okay.
So I went and visited the website.
Yep.
And that is a bad company.
What?
All right. And I know that because I watched the trailers for every Evil Bong movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen those?
No, I haven't.
Oh, man. They just keep making them.
Yeah, no, that's what they do. That's
what's his name?
Charles Band.
Charles Band, yeah.
That is what Full Moon is. They have it's an institution of just these franchises that they just won't let die. There's Puppet Master, Killjoy, Demonic Toys.
Isn't that just
It's just Puppet Master.
I was gonna say it's the GoBots version of Puppet
It's
Master.
like if the Transformers company also made the GoBots.
Did I say Ginger Dead Man?
Not yet.
That's one.
Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong.
And there's everything is versus.
Everything's crossed over.
They all cross over.
Listen, it worked out real well for Alien and Predators.
Yeah. I do think I will have to admit that Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys, probably one of the worst movies I've ever watched in my entire life.
Yeah.
Starring Corey Feldman.
Wait a second, was that the one that we watched the trailer for?
I can't remember.
No, I remember.
No.
Okay, the one that we watched the trailer for, where it's obvious like a guy running around in a little puppet suit.
That's a new thing.
Isn't that how they've been making the new Puppet Masters?
Yeah, because
they're not using actual puppets. They're just putting people in puppet-esque
stop
suits.
animation is more expensive than building
Halloween
big
costume.
Sets and putting people in Halloween costumes.
Now, you want me to tell you something else about that? Stop animation's a hell of a lot fucking scarier.
Yeah,
because it's herky-jerky and weird.
Yeah, we're gonna do a Puppet Master series.
Puppet Master,
don't worry,
X
everybody.
Leprechaun.
Yep.
We'll call it Puppet Master versus Leprechaun.
I think we'll have to find out. I don't know. Puppet Master might need its own thing because it's pretty bad.
Well, how many of them are you gonna watch? I mean, if you do Leprechaun 1 through 3 and you watch Puppet Master 1 through 3, that would work. Yeah. If you start going into the real weeds with both of those series,
there are, I think, 14 Puppet Master films.
Speaking of the weeds, you guys ready to talk dreams?
Yeah, we got to get into the dreams.
Curt, your face has changed. Trevor, your face has changed. I can no longer remember what either of you looks like.
All right, Trevor, your face has changed. Ooh, I wasn't even looking.
Yeah, no.
Good. This is it. We're here. We're in Darkcast, baby. All right. Who wants to start?
I'm still trying to think of.
You want to start, Curtis?
I'll start. I had a dream the other night. I frequently, my nightmares are about aliens, and I had another nightmare about aliens the other day.
AKA demons.
AKA demons. So, I woke up and I wrote it all down as I remembered to somehow. So, dream begins. All of a sudden, I'm just sitting in my car in the parking lot of the movie theater in my hometown. I think I was eating a sandwich, which at first not super weird. I was wondering if the sandwich was relevant in any way to the dream, but me eating a sandwich in my car is a pretty common thing. Yeah. So I think that may have just been my brain like putting pieces together.
It's your brain's version of like you walk into a tavern.
Yeah, you're eating a sandwich in your car. That's a very normal thing for me. I can picture it perfectly. And I see a white UFO in the sky. And so frequently what happens when I see UFOs in a dream is that they're always two things. They're massive, impossibly, frighteningly huge. It's like the first scene in
Independence Day.
Yeah, or even like A New Hope, where like the opening shot is like just this giant ship that takes up the whole screen. It always feels like that, and they're always completely silent. That's what's also very scary about it. Such a gigantic monolith is not making any noise. So it comes across the sky, and it looks like a fire alarm. Like it was like a white circle with like slots in it. Huh. So it peels around the sky, and you can really see this on the webcam, and lands like 50 feet in front of my car. And like what's going through my head is like, holy shit, that's a fucking UFO. Like there's no, like this is not a fucking false alarm. This is very fucking real right now.
Weather balloon.
Yeah, like there's no doubt that is a fucking weird spaceship that just landed in front of me. And I always have this feeling in these dreams of I'm alone. And it's always like, fuck, no one's here. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this information? No one's here to, like, just see this with me. So, it lands 50 feet in front of my car, and I see two gray aliens, like, walk out from behind it. Now, what was especially scary upon waking up for me was that at that point I felt this like feeling of like almost like passing out, like a rushing, sucking feeling of being pulled, which is frequently happens in these dreams. It's the only time I think I really have that feeling in dreams of being like pulled away from what I'm like. Oh shit, you shouldn't have seen this, and you get like yanked away from it. So, still dreaming. This is later in the dream. I'm inside the movie theater now, but it's kind of set up like an office space. There's like tables with like, you know, just files and stuff on them and stuff.
Weird.
And I'm super freaked out, and everyone around me is like trying to like comfort me, like don't fucking freak out. And my boss, my real boss, is there. And some like secretary people and like admins and just people like walking around. And my boss is like super gentle and like reassuring about the whole thing. And but she doesn't. I'm trying to explain like there are fucking aliens outside. Like there are a fucking UFO just landed and there are aliens outside. And she's like, no, don't worry, don't freak out. And I'm like, but then. This is where the dream takes like a weird turn. She hits me with something that was very unexpected, like even in my dream. She's like, don't freak out, it's okay. And then she hits me with, we know that you don't like this. And she tells me it's in my file. And I look down at the desk and I realize one of these like manila folders is like, it's stuffed full of paper and it's like, my file, whatever that means.
Okay. I'm loving this.
Dude, right? So she says, it's fine. We know you're uncomfortable. And then she says, we know about the trauma. She said that. And it was really fucking stuck out that, like, that's a weird thing for her to say. She's like, you're not going to lose your job. Like, and she's like, we have...
That's actually nice, though.
Yeah, she's like, we have counselors that you can talk to. Like, it's all fine. You're not going to lose your job. And, like, I'm slowly realizing that, like, I'm the only one freaking out about this. Like
everyone knows.
Yeah, like first I'm freaking out because there's aliens, and then I'm freaking out that apparently everybody is just cool with it.
And this is all taking place in a movie theater.
Yeah,
like with the screen.
Like no, just like in the lobby of a movie theater.
Okay. I was gonna say what movie was on.
Yeah, and so like, and there's this trauma that everybody knows that I have, and I don't know what they're talking about. But apparently there's this big fucking folder with information about me. So, I'm trying to find where I was. So, I'm like freaking out, and I know that they're coming inside. Like, that is my big fear. Like, they're gonna fucking come in. And right by the door, there's like a couple parents, like, sitting in these, like, black metal chairs with, like, brown cushions on them. And they're right by the door, and I'm trying, like, to get them to leave, because I'm like, you're right by the door, and they're gonna fucking come in the door, and they're just like, whatever, they just don't care, and I started to instantly feel that the same, like, fainting, rushing, whoosh feeling that I felt before, and I, like, woke up. So, when I first woke up, like, it was kind of like sleep paralysis. Like my brain I was awake and I was conscious of that. I was in my bed in my room, but my eyes were still shut, and like my body like wouldn't move for a little bit, which is not super uncommon for me. So I don't usually freak out when it happens. And then I knew that it was like a significant dream, and my first thing was like, oh shit, I gotta tell Ben about this. That's like what happens when I have dreams now.
Good.
But I couldn't get myself to like wake up to write it down, and it was like a minute or so before I like realized like if I don't write this down, I'll forget about the dream, and then that was like all of a sudden like my hands can move, and then I wake up and shit, and then I fucking grabbed my phone and I started typing it all out.
That's great.
So that was the dream.
That's a good one.
Any thoughts?
We know about the trauma.
We know about the trauma.
You're not going to lose your job.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know, man.
So the aliens were scary.
Very scary.
And you were worried about them coming inside.
Yeah.
But nobody else was worried about them coming inside.
Did you see outside the theater?
No, I hadn't. Once I was in there, I didn't look outside or see anything.
There were people near the
Yeah, they were like
anything beyond.
Was this a specific movie theater?
Yeah, it was the flagship in Oxford.
The Oxford Hills flagship.
So the reason,
yeah, that's the one I was imagining.
So the reason
there's always been something spooky.
Yeah, there's definitely something spooky about that entire.
So the reason I couldn't see outside was because I was in the lobby and there's like a door on either side, and you can't see directly out by looking straight.
That's right.
So I didn't know what was happening out there, but I knew that they were coming into the theater.
What was your sense of what she meant by the trauma?
I had no clue. I was like, apparently something has happened to me that has made me very fucking afraid of aliens, and everybody else knows about them and is not fucking freaked out by them.
Yeah.
So that was pretty spooky. But I don't know.
They're scary, man.
It was weird that it was my boss. I don't know what that had to do with it.
Yeah.
And
I think your boss was a part of you.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think your boss was a part of your mind that was telling you not to be afraid, essentially. Which is a helpful thing to hear.
Yeah.
It's good that there's someone in there, you know?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
Thanks.
Yeah, mine is not elaborate like that.
Every once in a while, I have like a fucking home run. And I don't dream very...
Like every few weeks you have like a kick-ass dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trevor, you got any ideas on this dream?
I don't know. On this particular dream, it's been reminding me of a pseudo-recurring one that I have.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You want to do your dream cast next?
No, you can go.
Okay, alright.
I'm not sure if I want to bring that one up or I want to try to remember something more recently. Because the way I can think of more recently, I don't have a ton of detail.
We should,
mine doesn't have a ton of detail on it either.
We should plan a recurring dreams episode of Dream Cast.
I got a couple of those.
I've never had a recurring dream.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a few, and they're all horrifying.
For many years of my life,
we'll have you back for recurring dream cast.
Yeah.
For many years of my life, I didn't have any dreams at all.
That's scarier.
It was scary. Yeah, it was. And, I mean, there are reasons for why I didn't have any dreams. But...
So we continued. There were reasons. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, no, it's a weird story.
That's
It's
the
maybe
name of
not
today's
something that I
episode.
need to talk about on the podcast, but there is, I believe there to be a reason for why I never had any dreams for probably 5-10 years.
It's aliens.
Maybe we just won't record it, and we'll just have a real talk sometime about recurring nightmares and stuff.
Yeah,
and your lack of nightmares.
It's not a long story. Anyway, I've
Let's hear this week's dream.
Yeah. This week's dream was, and I don't have a good linear sense of it, but the theme that kept coming up with was roundness and circularity, and circles were a recurring image in this dream, and and they were everywhere within the story. And the story that happened was kind of two stories that were the second one was a repetition of the first one. The first one was I watched a ski documentary where a woman was skiing, and I was following her from behind the back. I was not in the dream. It was a point of view it was like the Olympics or some shit. And she wiped out, and then she ended up in a network of caves, like a labyrinthine network of caves where she had to survive. That was the first dream. The second dream was I was at school. I was walking around the building. It was in a dream, it's not exactly the same building, but it's the same building, but it's nothing like the building that you're thinking of. There were people from other locations, and I was discussing with them what it's like to work at that school for a long time. Blah, blah, blah. Eventually, I and several other teachers, there was this big excavated tunnel at one of the buildings nearby, huge, I don't even know what to compare it to. It was a 30-foot by 30-foot, or a 30-foot circumference, not 30-foot circumference, 30-foot diameter pit in the ground of excavated dirt. And we ended up going into that pit, ending up in a network of labyrinthine tunnels in pitch blackness, and having to survive down there. So it ended up being a weird repetition of the themes from the first dream. And this whole time, the thing that was coming to me from the dream was circularity and the nature of cycles to repeat.
That is a weird one.
That was a weird one.
That's an abstract dream.
Yeah, it felt like another level of dreaming. I haven't really had another dream. Well, I did, but it was a weird specific work dream that involves students, so I'm not going to talk about it.
That's fair.
But yeah, it was a dream that felt like I was entering another layer of my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had some dream type things where that kind of stuff happens, where you almost feel like you see something you shouldn't see, or you kind of, I think you kind of do get a little deeper than you're used to being.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. All right, Trevor, have you come to a decision?
Yeah, I think so. It's not a recurring dream, but a recurring theme. So, like, recently a lot of dreams I have start out normal, which isn't a thing because dreams aren't normal. There's always something off that you don't realize until after you wake up, that you're like, wait a second, that was really weird. Or until you realize you're dreaming. Like, in the midst of the dream, you become aware of the fact that you are in a dream. I don't know if that happens for
lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
And then you're aware of, like, why didn't I notice this bizarre thing, like this book floating in the air in front of me before or something. Right. But I've been having dreams that begin with a perfectly normal sort of scenario of, like, the most recent one I can think of is, like, being around the campus at our school and, like, being around people that I know who don't look quite right, but you recognize them instinctively as the person that they're supposed to represent. And then it's always either leaving a building or getting into a vehicle or transporting yourself in some way to another place, and things very sudden, not very suddenly, like, just a switch flips and all of a sudden something's extremely wrong. Yeah. And one of them I can remember, this is from further back than recently, was like being put in a situation where the person that I was traveling with, who I recognized but was not recognizable as a person that I actually know in, like, waking life, essentially gave me the choice of cutting a piece of myself off or a piece of another person off.
Oh, no.
In the midst of the dream. Yeah. And it was like a switch flip, right? It was a perfectly normal dream where we were going to a location for a normal activity, like going to a party or a movie or something, and we were meeting people there, and then we got there, and all of a sudden a totally different scenario is now happening.
Oh, man.
And that happens, that's been, the past year or two, that's been the thing that I run into when dreams go bad or become nightmares, is that it's not, the dream never starts that way. It switches, and it switches at the drop of a hat. And when I'm conscious of it, or can become conscious of it, I can usually get myself out of it. But when I'm not, I'll wake up and be like sweat-soaked sheets and just be like, what the hell just happened?
Wow.
And it's relatively regular.
Yeah, how often are you having these dreams?
The really, like, the ones that really seem to take a dark turn, once every couple months, usually. Yeah. It's not like every week or anything, but
it's often enough, I bet.
I had recurring dreams as a kid of, like, being in a library and pulling a book off the shelf and somebody reaching through and trying to grab me with like a claw or something, and then chasing me through the library and into the street, and then I would usually wake up. And the way that I stopped them from happening was by turning around and trying to face whatever it was that was coming, and then the dream ended, and I woke up, and I haven't had that dream since that.
That's very Earthsea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is super weird. I like, there's parts in the books that I write about the dreamscape being a place that is the border between the physical world and the world of, like, in this case, the gods. But I picture it as, like, I think dreams are a very bizarre metaphysical world that we maybe don't understand.
We absolutely don't understand why people dream or what dreams mean.
And I get the whole science behind
what's going on in there.
It's synapses firing in your brain, and it's your brain trying to process information that it has acquired.
Yes.
I think that's partially true, but I also think there's a lot of other stuff going on.
A physical thing that is happening.
It's
but
an incomplete explanation.
Right. I would agree
that's
with that.
That's what I would say. I think that's right but it only takes you so far.
But then you even get people who are saying that they're just random firings of synapses.
Well, that is very much I don't think that there's anything that occurs within a human body that's random.
Right.
So, yeah. So, yeah, occasionally I get that kind of, like... And again, I rarely wake up remembering specifics. But I remember just, like, things were perfectly fine, then something, literally at the drop of a hat, became extremely wrong with what was going on. Sometimes it's not something as dramatic as, like, you have to hurt this person or hurt yourself. It's just, like, I get an immediate sense of the person I'm with is not someone I should be with. Like, they have ill intention toward me or someone else. And, like, that becomes... Like, that actually I think is sometimes worse.
Yeah.
Because when it becomes really kind of, like, twisted or weird, then I can go, this isn't right. Like, because when your brain finally kind of goes, wait a second, this isn't actually what's happening here. Yeah. But when it's just a little bit off and it gets, like, the worst ones are the ones that very slowly go downhill. Yeah. And then you get too deep to get out of it.
You ever try writing your dreams down?
I did for a little while, but, like, I think a lot of that just gets transcribed into things that I end up writing anyway.
Oh, yeah, right, right.
Like, I end up writing stuff or characters or scenes in books, like, there's a scene in the first book about a rat pursuing, like, a someone who's tied up in a cell to like eat them while they're still alive. That was a dream I had.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I just transcribe the really twisted shit that comes into my head into books, and then I sell it to people for money.
Yeah. Oh, that's art.
That's art, baby.
It's art, motherfuckers.
Yeah. All right, I think we gotta wrap this thing up.
It gets
Trevor, you gotta
toasty in here when the
it's
shades are down.
getting toasty.
Trevor's gotta get going. Let's go back to regular cast.
Light cast. Oh.
Oh god, there's someone out there.
Why did we do this?
Oh yeah, now.
Yeah, we're bright in here now. Hey everybody, we're back.
Thanks too much. Hi everyone. Hope you enjoyed that.
So, wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
All right, next week we're talking about a film, The Grand Buffet.
The Grand.
I've not seen this
Buffet.
film.
Neither have we.
Yeah, it's a French movie from the 70s.
Yeah.
Sounds
Genre?
kind of fucked up.
Horror.
Horror?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cannibalism, apparently.
It's on Amazon Prime. For anyone who keeps up with the show, you can watch it for free if you have Amazon Prime. All I know about it, I believe, I guess I can't even say no, I think that it is about 4 guys that are, I think, rich and depressed, so they decide to isolate themselves in like a cabin spa somewhere and indulge in like just like bougie things until they kill themselves with it. They plan to basically just like eat and sleep with prostitutes to death. I think that's pretty much.
So it's 7, but by choice.
I'm excited to watch it. It seems
very French.
seems exciting. I've been meaning to watch it for a while, and then I saw recently that it was on Amazon Prime, so I was like, "Hey, let's throw this on the podcast." I didn't get it before because I would have had to pay like $30 to get it on Blu-ray because it's like an import.
Why do you not feel this way about Antichrist? I just don't.
You had to ruin the mood.
At least in the Grand Buffet, they're doing it for fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
they're doing it to have a good time.
So yeah, next week we'll be doing that. You know the usual spiel. You can listen to Ben and Curt Till It Hurts by subscribing to Black Gold Podcast on Stitcher and iTunes. You can read Trevor's books. How do you get your books?
Amazon. Look for T.H. Paul Legacy Chronicle.
Yeah.
You also stream on Twitch.
Stream on Twitch at it's Twitch Vulture X21 is my.
And you announce those on your Twitter account,
which is at Legacy Chronicle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks for coming on. It's always
Thanks
good to have you.
I'll be back soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're gonna get that recurring Dreamcast going.
Oh man,
Needs a good theme song.
Yeah. You can follow Ben and Curt Till It Hurts on Twitter at Ben_and_Curt.
I guess you can.
Yeah,
I suppose.
if you want to. You can make it private so they need permission to. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at KurtCake5K. And I guess that is it. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, thanks for listening and or watching.
Yeah, hopefully we had some people here tonight.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Woo, we did it.
So check the YouTube channel, 5,000
All right,
viewers.
we should turn off the stream too.
Yeah. This is you get
Don't
the
relax too
pre-show.
much.
You get the pre-show and
You
the
get
post-show.
Oh.
We're still streaming. I'll let everyone know when it's safe to
Oh, I got a notification.
do whatever weirdness we do.
At Ben and Curt streaming on YouTube.
Oh, I guess this was actually 54.
Uh-oh. I'll change it.
Start it all over.
Alright, yeah.
There we go.
Throw it away.
Record this.
We're going again.
Mislabeled.
Smells like pizza up here. I think there's pizza waiting for us downstairs.
Trevor, I know you got to run. You want some pizza before you
Yeah,
go?
I'm gonna get going.
It's
Gotta
the
get all the way
perfect,
for 'em.
Yeah.
The
walking,
perfect pregame.
the perfect walking and eating
Fill
meat.
yourself full of pizza.
Throw up on the goaltender.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
I'll come back anytime. I like coming on. As long as I have something I feel like I can add.
Yeah.
How do we turn this off?